Hey designers, this is Dr. Shantae Bishop, CEO of Design Her Label, and this week's brandcast is all about not being safe, but being signature. Lately, I've been noticing that you get a lot of these entrepreneurs and a lot of these influencers telling you things like, if you do what I do, then you'll be able to have the success that I have. And there's a part of that that's just not accurate. I won't say it's not true. I'll say it's not accurate because there are a lot of variables that you can't control, a lot of variables that you don't see about someone else's success story that are not possible to replicate. And so this week's brandcast is all about focusing on not taking the safe route and just following a playbook to someone else's success, but how you can stand out and be signature in your brand. So here's the myth I want to dispel in this brandcast. You cannot copy and paste someone else's success story. Because as I said, there are so many things that you don't see behind the scene, so many handshake deals, so many, opportunities that we'll talk about a little bit later in this brandcast. But the thing is that even though you can be successful in your own way, to say that you're going to have the exact same type of success that someone else has is not a realistic expectation. And the thing is that sometimes we look at someone else's brand, we look at someone else's opportunities, we look at what someone else is doing and how they're growing. And we think, of course, I would love to have, success like that. I would love to be inspirational like that. But in this brandcast, we're going to look at some of the differences between being inspired by someone's success and trying to replicate someone's success. Inspiration is being moved to act. You might hear something, you might read something, and you might decide, what? I need to change my life. I need to do more than what I'm doing. You might be inspired to commit. So it's daring to commit and pushing your fears aside. Inspiration might be wanting to create a similar experience or a similar feel for your brand because you had such a positive experience or encounter with another brand. Inspiration might be something as simple as you love someone's color palette and you want to incorporate that color palette somehow into your brand, or it might not be the colors, but you like that their brand is vibrant. And so you take that inspiration and think about ways that you can use it for your own purposes. But inspiration is not pattern making. When someone makes a pattern or when a designer makes a pattern, that means that the prototype has already been created. And all that's happening at that point is someone is literally just copying and pasting that exact pattern. Inspiration is not brand envy. Sometimes people, even though they may not be quote unquote haters, but they sit and they think, what is this other person doing that I'm not doing? What is it that, they have that I don't have? And, I sure would love to have a robust system that allows me to do A, B, and C. So that's not what inspiration is. And sometimes people use that, someone else's popularity or someone else's growth or someone else's opportunities, and they start to feel quote unquote some kind of way about that. That's not inspiration. Inspiration is not trying to mine someone else's resources. And so sometimes you would be surprised how many people kind of like stalk out other people's relationships and other people's circles. So when you see this point here about circle stalking, it's like, oh, this person has an alliance with that person. Let me try to get an alliance with that person. Or this person, goes to dinner and has lunch with so-and-so. Let me try to get a dinner or have lunch with so-and-so. Because when you have that kind of focus on someone else's brand, when you have that kind of focus on someone else's success, then by definition, you are neglecting your own brand, your own success, neglecting your own opportunities to make relationships. And so inspiration is not trying to replicate someone else's success. Inspiration is being inspired to move and help people in ways that will bring about your own success. So here's an example that I want to use. Some of you might remember a classic film from the 80s, Coming to America, and it was McDowell's versus McDonald's. And, I remember the scene where one of the lead characters said, they have the Big Mac, but we have the Big Mick. Okay, obviously this is not inspiration. This is literally trying to replicate, copy and paste someone else's success. And when you do that, it does create a sense of skepticism that the McDowell's brand can't come up with their own ideas. There's even a scene where you saw that same character flipping through McDonald's playbook. And so you don't want to do that. You might be inspired by someone else's brand. You might be inspired by the way that they impact others. You might even be inspired by the way that they have personally impacted you. But you want to make sure that what you're doing is signature, that it's unique to you, that when people see you, they recognize you for your gifts, your talents, your abilities, your originality, your innovation. Not, wow, you look so similar to so-and-so, because really what you're starting to do is rob yourself of the opportunities that can come from your own innovation and from your own relationship building. Entrepreneurs by nature are passionate, they're creative, they're innovative, and they're original. And I realize that sometimes, especially when you're getting started, it might be really tempting to just, say, you know what? This person is doing A, B, and C, so I'm going to do A, B, and C just to get started. But you know what I found, especially when I work with clients who have taken that route, they find that the more they become comfortable with their brand, the more that they become comfortable and familiar with the needs of their client, then the more they realize that what they started with by using somebody else's pattern or prototype really doesn't work for them. And they find themselves having to rebrand or restart, that process all over again because they weren't original and innovative from the beginning. And they just kind of took a safer route and decided, I'm going to use someone else's pattern so that I can get the ball rolling and get started. But then finding out down the road that that pattern really doesn't work for them or really doesn't serve their needs or serve their purposes. So there are certain things that you just cannot replicate. One of those things is relationships, because the bottom line is this, is that if someone has a television opportunity or they have a really good relationship with the producer might be their sister. It might be their brother-in-law. You can't replicate that. The hookup that person is going to get is not going to be the one that you get, no matter, how much you call or email that person. There are just some things that can't be replicated. You can't replicate somebody's courtship, meaning you can't replicate the time, energy, money, resources, travel that someone else has put into courting a relationship and trying to finesse that deal getting done. You can't replicate someone's resources, because while somebody might be able to drop $1,000 on a last minute flight to fly across the country and meet somebody, you might not have those resources. And so there are certain things that just you can't copy and paste. You can't replicate someone else's backstory. Somebody might have had, a traumatic past, and that really drives them, beyond all obstacles, beyond all challenges, beyond all doubt, to really make their brand successful. You can't replicate, a chance meeting, someone that they bumped into in the elevator and struck up conversation. And next thing you know, it was a tremendous opportunity for them to grow and build their brand. You can't replicate someone's risk tolerance. This is something I've talked about in previous brandcasts, because what someone else is willing to risk, you may not be willing to risk. Somebody may be willing to risk it all to get it all. And you may not be willing to do that. You may not be willing to quit your job. You may not be willing to sacrifice having a family. You may not be willing to sell your car. You may not be willing to risk all of those things for the cause of success. And so there are just some things that you just cannot replicate, because these are variables that you can't control. And last but certainly not least, you cannot replicate someone's destiny. If Mark Zuckerberg was the one that was destined to develop Facebook, then it's Mark Zuckerberg, and not 10, 12 other people that may come behind him and try to replicate that. If someone is destined to do something, then there's not a whole lot that can be done to change that. And so trying to channel your energy and your efforts trying to replicate someone else's success can often leave you disappointed with the results. But one of the things that I've noticed is that game changers have similar qualities. They have similar traits. And here are some of those qualities. Game changers have amazing content. When you look at what they bring to the table, what they say, what they produce, what they bring to the screen, what they bring to a conference, what they bring to their artistry, the content is amazing. And game changers surround themselves with amazing talent. They're not surrounded, by doubters and hemmers and hawers and, well, I don't know, They don't surround themselves with people like that. They surround themselves with people who are brilliant, who have ideas and innovation that are ready to change the world. Game changers fill gaps. And so instead of trying to replicate and copy and paste someone else's success, they look at where are the needs, where are the gaps, where are some spaces where I can slide right up in here and control this niche market. And game changers are not afraid to fail. One of the reasons why people tend to copy and paste or try to copy and paste someone else's success story is because they feel like, well, if it worked for them, it'll work for me. And in some cases, that's true. There are some things that, can work for you, some certain tools that can work for you, just like they work for somebody else. But most entrepreneurs, most game changers, the ones that we really admire and look up to, they're not afraid to fail. And so if you're copying and pasting someone else's success story, that means that you are afraid to fail. And one of the things that drives you to copy and paste that other person is because you feel like if they can have that type of success, you'll have similar success. And that's not always a guarantee. So what I want to leave you with is this: focus on your destiny. Produce amazing content and team up with amazing talent. And you would be surprised how you can change the world, what you can bring to the table, and what you'll be able to offer your clients when you are not going the safe route of replication and instead deciding to be signature. So as always, if you loved this post, please do share it, share the link, encourage your people to subscribe to designherlabel.com. And also you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would love to have you guys as part of my tribe.